Bloodlands was already incredibly good, rampaging Lilith, dungeons, everything. But now with the new Sacrilegious Ring, auto-casting Corpse Explosion and Corpse Tendrils, the build just went to super duper S tier. But how can a Corpse auto-cast ring change everything that much? And that's due to one single aspect. That's the aspect of the Embalmer, which gives you blood orbs on corpse consumption. Now, usually consuming corpses with this build is kind of tedious and annoying because you just want to spam Bloodlands. Due to the Sacrilegious Soul Ring, you're finally able to continuously spam Bloodlands, have the Corpse Explosion and the Corpse Tendrils happen automatically, and the only other thing you have to do is every now and then Blood Mist. And before you're asking, does this work against bosses? Yes, Uber Lilith just falls as well. Now the gameplay loop is quite simple. You Blood Mist in, make your first 3 corpses, and these corpses will instantly get Corpse Tendrilled, Corpse Explosion. The Corpse Explosion will trigger Fueled by Death for more damage, and at the same time make Blood Orbs, consuming these Blood Orbs while shooting your Bloodlands with the Gore Quill aspect will just top up your essence with potent blood, fortify you, and in total allow you to do tremendous amounts of damage. And it actually does bonus damage because of your Paragon board with the Blood Begets board. And as you can see, you just never run out of essence. You just zoom completely through the dungeon like a lightning bolt. This might be my best build I made so far in my 1,000 hours of Diablo 4 content. And yes, you noticed this the right way already. No more basic skill. You put the first 2 points in Hemorrhage just to have it, but then you're maxing out Bloodlands and you're also getting imperfectly balanced for the crazy bonus damage. Very important here, we have to have Corpse Explosion actually in our bars. So we have Blood Mist into corpses, but then also Corpse Explosion into Plague Corpse Explosion for the bonus damage if enemies are slowed, stunned, vulnerable, and this also multiplies with each other, giving you Corpse Explosion some nice damage. And then last but not least, 3 points in Grim Harvest for the essence, and 3 points in Fueled by Death for a 9% damage multiplier that consistently happens all the time. That together with Death Embrace for damage against close enemies, we have the Decrepify, give us cooldown reduction. And interesting, because our dashes are going to be our source of vulnerable, we can play Corpse Tendrils as Blighted Corpse Tendrils, making Blood Orbs. And now every 8 seconds, you also get a second Corpse Tendrils on your actual Corpse Tendril that makes even more Blood Orbs. Fantastic. Max out the Tides of Blood and the Coalesced Blood, and you don't need Drain Vitality because Blood Orbs are going to keep you topped up on Fortify constantly. We sacrifice our minion, use Memento Mori to get even more out of it, and then it's Bone Storm time with Supreme Bone Storm. Technically, you could play this with Blood Wave into the Blood Orbs into triple Blood Wave, but realistically, we don't want this because the Bone Storm keeps us up buried all the time so that we can keep on zooming through. And then finally, we're going for Rathamus of Vigor. Now for our equipment, everything begins with a helmet, the most important aspect. That is, Bone Storm creates Barrier. And since we have almost 20,000 life, that's 20,000 Barrier. What you definitely want here is maximum life, total armor, something like all stats, and cooldown reduction wouldn't hurt, or if you need a resistance, take a resistance. Now the main damage is coming from the Banished Lord's Talisman. After we spend 300 resource, we get a core skill to Overpower, but every single Overpower that critical strikes is 120% increased. And we actually have a 30% critical strike chance, plus 20% from our Bone Storm, plus 20% from our Corpse Tendrils. Therefore, always critical strike overpowering. Now the rarest aspect to find ever, Potent Blood High Roll. This is an 18 essence Potent Blood roll, which gives me, whenever I pick up a Blood Orb, 18 essence. And my Bloodlands costs 15. Think about it. 3 bonus essence on every Blood Orb pickup. And that's where we're also going to go infinite as we're making Blood Orbs continuously with the Sacrilegious Ring. Here, overpower damage, maximum life, damage to close is nice, critical strike damage also. You could take blood skill damage, you could take critical strike chance, all these are available. Now for the Sacrilegious Soul, you need a max roll because Ray Skeletons, Corpse Explosion, Tendrils needs to be 1 second and 8 seconds. Maximum life is good, but you also want ranks to all corpse skills be max rolled because that is free bonus damage. The lucky hit chance is just a nice cheesecake on top. On the offense, we're using the Lidless Wall, and there's no question this item is the best item in the game for Necro right now. You can farm it from Lord Zier during Legion events and world bosses. want to go for a max roll on the 25% so you can make the bonus bone storms. And this essentially allows you to continuously just make more bone storms. And especially with the Metamorphosis Vampiric Power, that just goes so nice hand in hand. Because the Metamorphosis Vampiric Power makes you invisible and do damage as you're dashing, plus making people vulnerable because of the Vampiric Curse. But the important part is that the actual dash you do can now apply bonus bone storms even if you have bone storms on you currently. This gets followed up by our wand with grasping veins on it for the bonus critical strike chance and the bonus critical strike damage. Here, technically a dagger for the attack speed or a sword for the intrinsic critical strike, that would be better. This is critical strike damage, overpower damage, core skill damage. Damage to slowed is fine. All stats or intelligence all work pretty well. For the boots, I'm playing Flicker Step to continuously have my bone storm up and never be lacking. Technically, you could also swap this out for the unstoppable aspect. Together with boots, they give you more dashes. And then you can here go for maximum of movement speed, all stats, dodge chance. But this is also giving you 80% ultimate skill damage plus, and since our Bone Storm is continuously active and doing quite some damage with all the critical strikes, it doesn't hurt to just boost it higher. The pens are the key piece, and here's the aspect of the Embalmer on. Consuming corpses has a chance to spawn a Blood Orb. You want a 30% roll here. You want the +4 ranks in Corpse Explosion or Blood Mist. Both are equally good, to be honest. Damage reduction from distance or close, maximum life, and I technically want a total armor percentage roll here, because that would bring my armor up to 10,000 plus, and you kind of need 13 to 14,000. If you want to know more about that, we have a whole video on the channel. I have 8,500 with my skulls currently in my jewelry, because my resistances are maxed out. I do not need diamonds. This 8,500 is technically not enough. Practically with the barrier, it's just right there good. The gauntlets are stat-wise so good. Critical strike chance and dexterity. That is such a huge boost in critical strike in total. Overpower damage as well is a must, and then the 4 ranks in Bloodlands. And here we're going for Gore Quills for the bonus Blood Orbs consumption as you're casting Bloodlands. Technically, we want the bonus attack speed on Overpower, but we do not have any slot for it left. Now, the chest is kind of variable. We could put Disobedience on here and choose a chest with total armor and maximum life. I choose Soulbound because it gives me 20% damage reduction as I have Berry active, and I always have Berry active. Damage reduction while close is also pretty nice. The lucky hit chance not needed, but to have is to have in this case. We could also put on the Blood Artisan's Cuirass for bonus bone spirits that come out after consuming 6 Blood Orbs. And if we put some points also into Bone Spirit, we could go for the Dreadful Bone Spirit to refuel even more essence, therefore making boss fights easier than ever. Might be good to take that chest in your Uber Lilith fight, to be honest, to just be even more efficient. Because at the end of the day, it's free damage and you don't need more defense against Lilith. Now the Paragon Glyphs you need and the Vampiric Powers afterwards, which are so important for this build. First one is Blood Drinker, and you want this level 21. It fortifies you on picking up Blood Orbs, but it also boosts the armor here, and the damage. This is 5% and now it's 12.5. That's amazing. So much bonus. This is 50 armor, now 125. Crazy. This brings us into the Bloodbath board together with the control glyph for the bonus damage against stunned enemies, which we continuously do with our corpse tendrils. And here we want to pick up the damage while fortified because it just works so well. Brings us then into the Blood Begets board for picking up Blood Orbs and multiplicative damage together with the Overpower glyph. And here you can pick up at least 49 willpower. There's actually one more willpower that I couldn't take so far because I needed a bonus point. I mean, might as well remove 5 dex here. Just again, yeah, it's just so much overpower bonus. Now, as a new thing, we're actually going into the Flesh Eater board. This we usually didn't have, but now since we're continuously consuming corpses, we get another 40% multiplier on our damage. Incredible. And that goes with the Essence glyph that our critical strikes are getting 22% increased damage to enemies that are not healthy, multiplicative, on our Overpower crits, which are boosting anyways. Last but not least, we're heading into the Send of Death board. Here we pick up some bonus critical strike damage, and we're using the Imbiber glyph for more damage while healthy. Sad part is that I do not have the points to pick up more willpower. I tried to cop some willpower nodes here left and right, but you notice how this is like, it's not that much. I wish I had another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to kind of go for it. But there is just barely any more points I can take away. I mean, we could maybe damage while fortified, maybe damage while fortified, but this is also maximum life. So it's really hard to find something that you could even squeeze a single point away from. Maybe down here, resistance to all elements, because my elements are all good. But you notice how this is just like minimal bonuses. Like I'm not really getting anything good going here. Vampiric Powers, we already talked about Metamorphosis, but the second one is Terror. You're guaranteed to critically strike enemies who are feared. Well, you don't fear enemies, but what you do is you stagger them, and especially you stagger bosses, because the corpse terminals is every 8 seconds autocast, but that 8-second autocast also gets followed up by another corpse tendril, and that staggers them so quick, and everything you do crits, and if you overpower it, that crit straight away gets supercharged. Put Blood Boil on top for the bonus overpower every 20 seconds, and the Blood Orbs that just explode, which can also critical strike like crazy. Now, Ravenous is 100% needed for the bonus attack speed, and that's why you want to have boots with a lot of movement speed, that your lucky hit can just give you a bigger bonus, because you're shooting out lances like crazy, and that attack speed makes you just go machine gun. Finally, we take Prayer in the Weak for more damage against vulnerable enemies, but also if we dash through people, we Vampiric Curse them, and then they're vulnerable. I hope I could bamboozle you with this monster, no worries. Also, Tempest Storm and the Blood Surge build each are going to get a Sacrilegious hard version. But if you want a taste, there they are.